Good morning and welcome. I want to start out first by saying thank you to everyone who's here. That presentation this morning, I'm sure moved you as much as it moved me, that we all have this opportunity to really just have that moment with a student. And I know you have many moments with many students and help them along the way. So that's really what this whole conference is about, is for us to learn and grow together. And so thank you for being here. And we hope that our presentation today about individual career academic plans will be helpful to you as you're helpful to students. So we have three people here today. I'm Cindy Kaz, Deputy Superintendent for Academic Affairs and Planning. And I'm so grateful for the two people with me today. Marissa Lightsey is Program Manager for New Skills for Youth, which is a grant we've received to help students be prepared. In addition, Chelsea Hunt is Career Pathway Strategy Lead, and she's out and about in all regions of our state trying to connect community and schools, counselors, educators, and business. So I thank them for being here today. As we think about college and career readiness, it's really all about how we're going to help those individual students being prepared to succeed in post-secondary opportunities, whether those be college or career. So that's the definition and the goal. But individual career academic planning has a vision that we want to consider, and that is to ensure all students have opportunity and support to successfully secure a post-secondary degree or industry certification that reflects each individual's passions and skills. And really that goes to what the speaker said today. It's really figuring out where that individual child is. And you have many of those. So one of the things we're going to share is that it is everyone's job in the school. And we hope that counselors are there, of course, leading the way, but it's everyone's job. So this is a slide that we often share, and business community likes this slide. It talks about the why and the future. The top is 2016, the education attainment in our state. And it says that 46% of our high school students have a diploma. And then it moves on to 30% have an associate certificate or credential. 16% a bachelor's and 8% some graduate degree. But what those students, as we move to 2025, the new jobs that will be available to these students have a different story. And so the jobs will only be open to those 24% that have a high school diploma, 45% that have an associate's certificate or credential. So what we're hoping to do is continue collaborations with our career technology centers, higher education, and of course, all of you, as we're trying to prepare these students so that they can have a life that will be fruitful for them. The most important why, and what I think counselors think about, is this quote from Kathy Dunn, Assistant Superintendent in Middale Public Schools, who's working with ICAP and her counselors. And the quote is, when a child has a plan and a goal, it's called hope. And so that's the direction that we're trying to move with individual career academic planning, to give these children a hope, to figure out what their dream is and help them get there. We know in the past that there were two ways to move to one's future. And that was academic or career industry specialization. But our society, our 21st century, is changing. And we need three things, no matter what the career is. And that includes the academic, the math and reading, writing. It includes specialization, career technical specialization, no matter what the job is. And of course, employability skills, teamwork, working together, caring about people, which was part of the message. So we hope that all of those can be included as we work with individual career academic planning. So what is it? I think you have some handouts coming to the table, but it's really a process that guides students as they explore career, academic, and post-secondary opportunities. And it's not something that begins in high school. It's something that begins early on with awareness and exploration, and then high school with preparation and planning. So I hope you can see this slide. I think you may have a copy of this at your table. What is ICAP? And when we first started talking about ICAP, people would suggest, well, we have a graduation plan, we have a checklist to make sure that they have all the course requirements. But the planning goes beyond that. It's a process. So if you take a minute at your table and just talk about what you notice that is different from perhaps your current practice. Now, I know some of you in the room have already begun the ICAP process, so you may have already begun some of the differences on the right-hand side. So take a minute, please, at your tables.
Okay, so we can hear that there are lots of conversations happening. Does anybody have anything that they want to share? Any ideas that you want to share at your table? Let's see, this one right here. Now, are you guys able to have an idea to share at this table? Is anybody using OK College Star or OK Career? No. No. Okay. You do? Okay. Do? Did you say you wanted to share with me? Oh. Okay. Okay. Oh. Okay. Well, I'm gonna have her make an announcement.
I appreciate. Is this on? I appreciate everyone's conversation. But if someone could share something they noticed on there. Often, people will suggest that high school graduation is not an endpoint, but a checkpoint. And you may have noticed that as well. So what we're really trying with the ICAP is to understand that a student doesn't stop with high school graduation. That's only a step along the way to their journey. Is there anything else that someone would like to share about what they noticed? Well, I hope you noticed a few things, so I'll just share that many times when we do this presentation, people recognize that it's not product-based, that it's not that piece of paper alone. That's certainly part of it. We need to have that as part of the plan for the students. But it's a process in thinking about students starting with some of the things on this next slide. And that it's starting with awareness. So students try to figure out what their strengths are and their skills. And with these, what they're interested in so they can begin the plan. The second step is exploration. So what might that include? It might include career fairs at your school or business and industry tours or job shadowing, any of those kinds of things. And then it comes to the beginning of preparation and planning. If these are your goals, what do you need to get there? And so that's all included in the ICAP. But it's not where you consider a plan, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th grade, and you can't adjust along the way. That's the purpose of the exploration, so students can begin to see what the opportunities are. And this is something that I'm just going to put up there that I hope you'll be able at some point in time to consider reviewing on our website. And I know Marissa's going to give you that URL for that. But I hope that you can consider that as counselors, as teachers, as administrators, that there are many things that are part of this process that you're already doing. And it's just to perhaps broaden the vision as you move forward. This, too, is the purpose of seeing this. I know it's very small, is that this process can begin in 6th grade with just interest inventories, and then beginning add these different ideas and processes along the way so that the student can have that exploration period. So what we want you to know is that we have several supports and hope to build on these for counselors. We have 10 counselors across the state who began last month, and they are beginning to devise a career advising toolkit for this process. Many of you will hear from them as they ask for your input. And the goal is that July 1 of 2018, we will have something that we can share with counselors so that this is a school-wide process. We have free online tools, there are resources, we have shared stories about what's happening with school districts that are piloting this, and a webinar series that has begun so that those districts that are currently piloting ICAP are sharing their stories, their successes, their lessons learned, as we learn and grow together on this process. And we will have several sessions at Engage OK in July, so we hope that you'll be able to take those opportunities. So as we move forward, I'd like to introduce Marissa Lightsey, who will continue.
So again, I want to echo Dr. Acosta's words, thanking you all for joining us today. A lot of the work that we're doing is kind of a for you, by you. So the ICAP pilot process is created so that our counselors, our teachers, educators, business leaders, everybody is involved in this process. So it's not something that we're putting together and expecting to be a one-size-fits-all. So when we're finished with the process, we'll have lots of different perspectives and lots of different tools and activities for everyone to take into consideration. So before I get started, I am going to do a short activity. So I had 3 volunteers that I pre-picked, so you guys can go ahead and make your way to the stage. And so we're going to do an activity that really, I think, kind of helps. You can put that there. You just leave it on the floor. Yeah. Okay. So I want you to stand here. Place your bucket there, and then you're going to stand right here, probably right there and face this bucket, and you'll stand right here and face this bucket. Okay, so what I'm having is everyone stand, so you're going to come right back here, Julian, Julian's really new, so we picked him so that he'd be in front of everyone. So everyone clap for Julian. Okay, so you're going to face this bucket right here. Okay, and you'll stand right here. And you're going to face your bucket right there. And then you're going to stand right here. You're going to face your bucket. Great. So you'll back up a little bit, Julian. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a quick demonstration to show the difference between equity and equality. And so this was an example. This was a lesson, really, that I learned working with students. So you'll pick up your balls here. And so you can kind of guess kind of what we're going to do, and I'm going to stand out of the way, is everybody is going to try to make a basket with those balls. I'm going to cheat Julian a little bit here. This is just a little bit of hazing, so don't pay attention to this. And so I'm going to give you guys just a few seconds to try to make as many baskets as you can, okay? Right here in your buckets, right in front of you, okay? Ready, set, go. Oh, pretty good. Oh, now he's trying to show us up. Whatever, Julian. Oh, ouch. 30-day review. Ugh. Thank you guys so much. You guys can have a seat. So what I really like about this exercise is that it was a lesson that I learned. I used to work for the Gear Up program in Upward Bound, so any of those people in the room, hey, how are you? So I really enjoyed that time. It was the best. I graduated from college. I actually went to Oklahoma Baptist University, and then I jumped both feet in and started working for Seminole State College. So I had a heart for TRIO, a heart for Gear Up, and I liked working with students who were striving to better themselves no matter what their circumstances were. And so I worked with a lot of students who were first-generation college students, some of them low income, and all kinds of different backgrounds. And so I would love to have those parent nights, those financial aid nights, and I'd work with the community, and we'd wrap our arms around them, and we would say, here's FAFSA, here's Oklahoma's Promise, this is what we're going to do, and everybody's going to just get to college, and it's going to be great. And then when I went and worked, most recently before this, I worked for Oklahoma Baptist University, and I was the director for career development there. And so Oklahoma Baptist University, completely different group of students, most students from parents who have both gone to college, maybe middle class households and those things as well. But what I noticed was that both of those students had a couple of things in common. Both had no idea what they were going to do after college. And both of them still struggled with staying in college. So even my students who would look so great on paper, we were struggling. And so what I noticed was that I couldn't have this one all-blanket approach. And so when I would have conversations with our students from Gear Up or from Upward Bound, and we would start to talk about Oklahoma's Promise, what I failed to realize was that obviously Oklahoma's Promise, there was a threshold. So unless you qualified for that particular financial threshold, you weren't going to qualify for that aid. And so not all students who were struggling or first-generation college students actually struggled financially. That just meant that maybe mom and dad didn't go to school beforehand, but maybe they didn't need to. And so I still didn't know how to be successful. And so I had students who were still struggling, trying to figure out a way to make it through. And I thought that the only thing that we needed was to make sure that we would eliminate the financial need and we were going to be great. And so that's the difference between equity and equality. Equity means stepping in, meeting the students where they are, making sure that they're successful. And equality is really making sure everybody has the same things, and not everybody needs the same tools. So I really like that exercise because I think that really explains that. So this is, again, just kind of reiterating the title there. So equity in classroom is loosely defined as giving all students the same resources to succeed. Equity can be defined as giving all students what they need to succeed. And that's what an ICAP does, is it doesn't give everybody the same resources. It makes sure that those students who need this resource are given those opportunities so that they can be successful. So our goal, obviously, is for students to have equal access to post-secondary options while providing equitable resources for all students to achieve their goals. So this next chart here, and I'm not sure if you can really see it that well, but Dr. Koss mentioned earlier the differences between career awareness, exploration, and preparation and planning. And so this is really a career development continuum. And so I really like this chart, especially working in career development where I was before. And so I'm going to go ahead and go through this real quickly. So first, career awareness. We understand what that is. That's the field trips that a lot of our elementary students may take, and they see what a different career is. Maybe they have a police officer who comes and speaks to the classroom or something. And so they're understanding that these careers exist. They're understanding that, yes, I do need a job, you know, to do that, or to work and do those things as well. And then there's exploration. And so I'm going to visit a little bit about awareness because I do have a personal story with this. I have a now 6-year-old child. It's funny how long I've been telling this story. He has aged a year. But so I have a now 6-year-old who wants to be a dinosaur when he grows up. So that is his career choice. So we're working on that. And we're going to get there. We all know what we're going to do. But that's what he's going to be. He wants to be a dinosaur when he grows up. So so that's his world there. And so he had an experience where individuals from Oklahoma Baptist University came and they worked with them on these apps, these learning apps. And so they showed them that they could create these apps on an Apple and a Mac computer, and it was going to teach them how to sound out these complex words. And so he really got into that and was so excited, started to ask them questions about what they were doing. And so he came back home and he said, you know what, I really want to be an artist, but I really want to be an illustrator, which that's a big word, you know, that's a far cry from a dinosaur to an illustrator. So I was just like, okay, well, this school's working out. So shout out to Shawnee Early Childhood Center, you're working out. So he was really excited about that. And so we do planning, and we do all kinds of things. We take him to different museums and different activities and those things as well. But I started to think about, okay, so how many times do we have these conversations where a student wants to be a doctor or they want to be a nurse or a lawyer, and then we go right into, well, you're going to go to law school, and that's it. And so we don't do any of the exploration in between. And so what I learned from that was, you know, really without these proper steps, his goal of being a dinosaur can be just as out of reach as being an illustrator, because exploration is very important. And so the exploration piece, I would always work with my students at OBU, and they were great. A lot of them would come in and made sure they made appointments with me, and we'd have all kinds of conversations about what we were going to do, the grades that were required, grad school or whichever. But I would also have conversations with students who had their first day in clinicals or first day student teaching and learned it is not for me. And we're already in junior year. So we have to start all the way over. And that's what happens with students. You know, our national graduation rate is 6 years from college, 6 years. So it's a 6 years national graduation rate, apart from 4 years. And so I take it because those first 2 years, students are really exploring. They're doing these steps here. But the difference is that we're paying for it. And so ICAP allows us to do this in high school in a familiar setting with different parents and supports around us. And then, of course, the planning period, of course, gives students that opportunity to start taking what they've learned to start moving ahead. So now I'm going to pass it to Chelsea Hunt that's going to tell you more about our tools.
So as mentioned earlier, ICAP is a process. It's a multi-year process. And the purpose is really just to be an intentional purpose, connecting students, giving them an actionable, a tangible plan that connects their interests, their abilities, their skills, and really gets them ready to be college, career, and life ready. At your tables, we handed out another handout. This is called the ICAP Roles and Responsibilities. And this showcases our 8 stakeholders. I just want to touch base on the one that is of relevance today, which is the counselors. And that role of the counselor, and as Dr. Koss mentioned it earlier, it really is a district-wide approach. It doesn't just fall on the counselor's shoulders. And so you'll see here the role of the counselor is to really provide that support in the implementation with information and resources for teachers, and also provide feedback for the ICAP teams. And the responsibilities of the counselor is really, you know, you have that one-on-one with them. So engage your students for this ICAP process and act as that resource that is valuable for them, and help facilitate the ICAP process within your school-wide, and again, provide that ongoing feedback to your ICAP team. Some benefits for your students, you really do get to see with an ICAP, as you saw that quote, when a student has a plan, they have hope, they have a goal. And it really, you see better engagement and motivation and self-efficacy for your students. You also see that they have more relevance to the coursework that they're doing, because, again, you're connecting them to their interests and their abilities and their skills, and you're tapping into that dream big, as Mr. Carter said. You know, you're tapping into that, and you're connecting them to this coursework, and how do I get really that career and life ready? And also better communication skills. You know, there are some students who do not know how to shake a hand and say, hello, my name is, and you're just have to let them know, of course, that how you talk in the real world is not how you talk when you're with your friends, that difference. So that's what ICAP is helping doing as well. Some benefits for pre-K and 12th grade educators, again, emphasizing that communication with students. And when you have a plan in place, and I learned it in my life, I don't want to, be bad behaviors. When I was growing up, my sister was that child who was getting into problems and trouble, and I looked at how that was affecting my parents, so I said, ooh, if I do what's opposite of her, then I'm going to get in good graces. And so I was just telling that story. That's not really relevant, but ICAP is really also just that reduction of discipline plans. Again, if you provide that structure, it reduces this child to really, the student to really want to act out on those behaviors that we heard about today with Mr. Carter. Also, parent involvement. It really helps bring the parents to the table to help get them engaged, to help sit down and talk to your students and say, okay, I see this in you. How do you want to get there? How do we start showing you that you can be more than just what I was in your life? You can be greater than me. So that's a good aspect as well. Some benefits for post-secondary education is they're more rigorously prepared. I know when I was in undergrad, I had to take a remediation course in math, and I really thought to myself, okay, I have to take this course, I have to pay for this course, and I'm getting no credit for this course. And that reality was kind of like, whew, okay, and I have to pass it. So ICAP really helps that less likely need to get the remediation to help students not have to go through the process that I went through when they advance, if they choose the path of post-secondary. Also, they have a better understanding of what engagement is in that pre-college activities, and again, they're more likely to gain that college and credit when they're in secondary studies instead of kind of spending more money in post-secondary studies when you could kind of beat it before that hand. Right now, most of you all know in this room, we're in an ICAP pilot phase. We have 28 districts who are participating, 59 school sites. And the pilot study is expanding, and so if you'd like to join, we welcome you to join, because that's where you're getting your best practices, the feedback. You're really having a hand in the ICAP process and helping guide us as we go through this implementation process and tell us really what does it look like for your district. How does that work? Is it feasible? We need your insight. So if you want to join this pilot phase, I really do welcome you to join it. If you join the pilot phase, there are some requirements that we ask of you. The first is that we want you to choose at least one of your site, and it has to be in the grades 6th through 12th. We also ask that you have a contact person, which would be known as your ICAP designee, and also build an advisory core team. That way you can get together and really see the processes that you're implementing and how do you make that better as well. We also have you choose an online tool. There are 2 free choices, as you know. One is OK College Start, and one is OK Career Guide. We ask you to start hosting those parent nights to bring in that parent and family engagement in the fall and in the spring, and then come to our monthly advisory group meetings and respond to those various surveys that we send out, because to help make the process better and smoother, we need your feedback. We can't just do it on our own, and we're asking you to come along with us. So there's various surveys that we send out, and then of course we ask that you come and get trained by us for 2 to 3 days, and then reach out to your contacts for the free online tools and get trained further for your district. ICAP implementation, some ways that we are seeing that are relevant right now throughout this process, this ICAP study that we're in, is one method could be an advisory class. Another method could be providing career exploration units in elective classes. You could implement ICAP by providing classroom guidance with school counselors, or I like the brown bag lunch sessions. I remember in 4th grade, Mrs. Beam, that was my teacher at the time, and we really did not have proper etiquette. And she said, you know what, my 4th grade class, you need to get with the program. And she said, I see how you're acting out on lunch, and I want to come and I want to sit down and I want to teach you those soft skills. And she made it a mission to put it in her curriculum. And she came and she sat at the table and she's like, sit up straight. here's this fork is for this. This is where the cup goes. And I remember because of her training, I'd go home to my parents and I'd be like, Mom, Dad, you need to sit up straight. Mrs. Beam said you need to put the napkin in your lap. And just those moments that she took out of her time to teach us. And so a brown bag special is a good way to just connect with your students and say, this is what careers are out there, and just really get that one-on-one connection. ICAP rollout. Phase 1 happened in 2017, 2018, and again, that's the 28 school districts, 59 school sites that we have. Choosing between the 6th and 12th grade, there's a various grade levels that some of our districts are doing to implement this. It's really about beginning those steps of awareness, exploration, preparation, and then, of course, getting your plan of action. And then student and staff evaluations of the ICAP pilot study also is within this phase. And then in phase 2, which is 2018 to 2019, again, we're having additional pilot districts come on board. So if you want to do it, this is the time right now. It's open, applications are open until May 4th of 2018. And then also in phase 3, which is 2019, 2020, beginning with your 9th graders, full implementation of ICAP. And I'm handing it back to Marissa.
So I want to show you all a couple of the tools that we are using. You heard mentioned earlier OK Career Guide and OK College Start. Both of these are completely free and excellent tools. First, so OK Career Guide, I do have a little bit of the sort of the differences between the two, and of course this was expressed to us from our ICAP schools. So OK Career Guide, of course, is a free online tool, and it really focuses on providing assessments, information concerning career expectations, growing trends, scholarship opportunities, as well, and concentrating programs of study that are available in Oklahoma. So essentially, we want a student to go through the process, learning about themselves, how they fit into the world of work, and then, of course, they'll start to specialize. So where they are with this broad idea and then starting to specialize down. And that's really the idea for OK College Start as well. Right here at the bottom, you probably have not seen this before, and this is our online community platform. So this platform is very different from the tools that we mentioned before. Before I go further, I know that there have been questions. Will these ever replace each other? So will our community platform replace the others? The answer is no. Our community platform is to support the free online tools that we already have. So here's a little bit about the differences. So our online community platform is really just centered on making sure that students are able to collaborate with different stakeholders in the community. So the platform allows a student to take assessments, of course, learning about themselves, about the world of work. It's also designed, centered around the 6 career fields that was provided to us by CTE, so those 6 career fields. And then they have the different clusters that are reflected as well, so very similar to the tools before. But what makes it different is that you have opportunities that are called collaboration spaces. So we have a module that's designed for educators, parents, and business and community leaders to discuss and talk about ways to create career pathway opportunities in your community. So we're not expecting any of the teachers to be an expert or in career development, but we do know that teachers know how to ask the important questions. What's the ask? How do I reach out to the welding community or the electrician community? How do I start to put together a career pathway and explain to the students what they need to be successful? What are the untold secrets? What are the trends? What are the programs? What are the apprenticeships? Where are those? And so now you get an opportunity to have those conversations. Parents get an opportunity to have those conversations with employers as well. And so this tool will be rolled out very soon. Right now, our ICAP pilot sites are going through it, testing, doing all of the bugs and those things as well, and then we'll make that available to our educators as well. So you all have a note card at your table. And so if you could just real quickly answer at least 2 of these questions, because we are going to pick these up on our way out, but we want feedback. We are still collecting feedback from everybody that we present to. And so if you can pick at least 2 questions there to answer and leave those cards on your table, we will pick those up before we wrap up. Thank you. know we still have some people that are writing, so I'll give you a couple more seconds here. Okay, so I do want to show you all just a couple of resources that we do have. The first one here, this is the URL to our website. If you are not able to see it from where you're sitting, the easiest way to find us is to go to the State Department website and use the search bar and choose New Skills for Youth. When you go to that web page, it's going to have resources for you to take a look at. We also have our newsletter, and that opportunity is you are able to sign up there on the website also. And then, of course, we have a Facebook page where you guys can follow the progress of all of our ICAP schools and get the most updated information. And I'll let you guys take a picture. I know you guys are probably taking a photo here. Yes, so we have a link for our newsletter there, and then you can also take a look on our Facebook. We have a link there. We also, all of the webinars that we host are archived and on our website also. So if you are not able to attend any of those, you do have an opportunity to go back and go look at those as well. Do we have any questions? And I'll have to say that you'll have to come to the front because we are being live streamed so that they could pick you up on camera. Oh, I can go back. Okay, never mind. Do we have any questions? And Chelsea can come with a microphone.
Will both the platforms be available after the pilot, or will one be chosen after the pilot years for the two, the Oklahoma Career Start or the two?
We've had that question often, but right now we're just trying to allow districts to have that choice. We also have some districts that are paying for certain online tools such as Naviance. So at this point in time, as we're in this pilot phase, we're just trying to allow districts to continue with what they're using. Any other question? Both tools will remain free. The Oklahoma Department of Career Technology supports the online tool, OK Career Guide, and the Oklahoma State Regents support with funding the OK College Start. And one more question. Yes. So what we've started this career advising for the 10 counselors across the state. We started with counselors that were interested in the opportunity from our pilot districts. And so what we will be starting to add, they just began, but what we're going to start to add to our website is the ongoing information about the toolkits. And so we really do want feedback, obviously, from counselors to provide that. These counselors also have the opportunity to get a certification through ASCA, the National Counseling Group, and so part of our grant is funding that. Next year, we'll have an application go out for counselors who want to be the next group who will continue with what we're going to build on implementing the career advising toolkit, and then also the grant will pay for the registration for career advising toolkit through ASCA as well. Yes. So the question was, is the ICAP team and the advisory team two different teams? No, not necessarily. So for the pilots, we really think it's important, as I'm sure all of you do too, that included in that advisory will be a counselor, lead teacher, administrator, parent, student, and a business connection. But, you know, some of our schools, depending on the size, may have sort of subcommittees or additional groups. So that just kind of depends on the school district. Other questions? Yes. So there's not one answer to whether the counselor is the one who is responsible to train the people in the building. So the first answer is, as far as the online tools themselves, there are individuals from OK College Start and OK Career Guide. Then depending on the size of your district, it will be a team approach. And so what we're doing now and the feedback we're getting has been very helpful. Our pilot districts, and if some of them are near you, you might want to contact them. But what we're trying to do, there's a feature on the website called Share Your Story. And so we're trying to collect what's happening now, because not every school district is going to do it the same way, depending on your size, depending on how involved you've been previously. So we're saying, here's the basic structure, those 4 areas of awareness, exploration, preparation, and planning. But each school district, it's just been really remarkable about the variety of ideas that are working. We want to give school districts enough flexibility on how they're going to do this. Some districts, for example, are doing it within an advisory. Some districts are doing it because they're beginning in middle school as part of an elective class. Middale Public Schools, for example, has a communication class for all students. And so this is like a unit in there where they're really focusing and getting the students started. So there are a couple of school districts that are at the conference today, so you might want to go visit those. So we're really trying to build all the different ways you can do this so that it can fit your school, depending on what the size is. Any other questions? Yes. So the question is, and I'm not sure I have an answer, but it's something we're working with, and the question is, a student is in a district that's maybe using OK Career Guide, and then they move to a district that's using OK College Start. So how will it affect the student? So there will probably need to be some re-entering of information, perhaps. I don't have the answer because we're still working with that. But each of the tools is trying to follow the intentionality of making sure they do each of the steps, the awareness and the exploration and then the planning. And each of them has something like an e-portfolio where things have been in place. Right now, there is not a direct link from one to the other, if that's the answer to your question. But the data should be available from each of them. Other questions? Yes, in the back. I'm going to bring the microphone back because I can't hear you. Excuse me. Okay, it'd be faster if we had aisles. Okay, here we go, getting my steps. Okay. Is it? Here we go.
Okay, I was just saying, I know in OK College Start, you can release that student and then the new school can pick them up. So that's all I was saying.
Well, perfect. That's something I didn't know. Thank you. Other questions? Okay. All right. Any other questions? Well, I do hope that if you have questions, please write them on those index cards for us and put your information so that we may contact you. And if you have time to respond to one of the 2 sentences on the screen right now, we really would appreciate your feedback. The reason we have a pilot this year and a pilot next year, and so we can make sure that we're very helpful and supportive to whatever you need so that we can help our students. All right. Thank you so much for your attention today.